In this video, we're going to focus on how we can put the text in a center of a donut chart, but give this single text two colors. And this will be a nice trick that we're going to use, because if you want to have two separate text labels with a color, positioning it in the center can be a real challenge. But here, we're going to show you a nice trick. So let's start to look how we can add dual color text in the center of the donut chart. First thing what I want to do here is, of course, get the default code. So we go to chartjs3.com, getting started. This link is also in the description box. Scroll down then, and then copy this entire chunk of code. And if you want to understand what this code does, make sure you watch this video here, which explains it all. I'm going to paste this all in there, and then I will cut out the title, put the title in here. Alright, save that, refresh, and there we are. So now we have the first part, but what I want to do is I want to convert this into a proper pie chart. So what I'm going to do here is, or sorry, not pie chart, but a donut chart, that's the right term. First of all, I want to change the size here to 400, and then we scroll down here to make this the donut chart, so the donut chart will not be too large, because it will convert the shape into a square. So then what I want to do is remove the scales, because a donut chart has no scales. Save, refresh. Alright, there we are. So what I want to do here, just for the sake of it, for this demo purpose, I'm going to convert all of these to four numbers, but they will do 25, 25, 25, and 25. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to show you later on that we have the center. So you can see here, this will show easily if you're in the center here. And then what I will do here for the colors, well, let's get some different colors. Let's get this color, I will put it in here, and then the second one will be a transparent color, because I only want to show later on just a single value, but I want to have this for now as our starting point. Save that, and then, alright, make sure we have commas here, sorry. Comma here, comma there. And then here as well, save, refresh. Alright, so we have this here, you can ignore this here, this doesn't matter so much. I guess we can hide them. But I will hide them later on because I want to show you exactly how we get in the center here. So we have this here, we can see these lines. And then what I want to do here, just comma, and then what I will do here is make this a bit more appealing. Let's say border radius 5 pixels, 5. And then we say here, cut out, which is the cutout percentage, let's make this 90%. So it will be a very narrow item here. That looks absolutely phenomenal. So now we have this here, and then later on maybe we need to have some invisible lines. So we have to create some lines here so we can start working on it. However, what I want to do is just put the text in the center. So to do this, what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to go here in the configs, and then here specifically in the options, comma, and then we're going to say here below the options, plugins, and then we're going to give it a new plugin object name. So what will be the object? I guess in this case it will be a duotone text. Very simple. You can give it anything you want, doesn't matter. Then here, this will be our duotone plugin, and then we say a constant duotone equals. Then we're going to start working from here. So in here, what I'm going to do here is, first of all, the ID will be a duotone, comma. Then next, what I want to do here is I want to draw this, and I'm going to select the timing of drawing, which will be after the data set has been drawn. I want to draw this specific item. And then I'm going to use here the arguments, which is chart, arguments, and options. Although the last two are not necessary in our case. Same with the ID. Basically, it's not necessary, but it's necessary. But it can be useful if you would make certain option features. However, I will not cover that. I have another one. We're going to center how to center a donut chart text, where it also shows with the options. I would highly recommend you to watch that one as well, so you have a very good understanding of this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do here the constant, and say here object destructuring. So constant, and here we have curly braces equals chart. This is what we're going to do, and then what I want to do now is starting to get this object. That's why we call this an object destructuring. We're going to get an object and we split it out, whatever is in there. So if you're wondering what I'm talking about, let's do a console log so you can see it immediately. Console log chart, save, refresh. Open up developer tab, and you can see here what we have. Well, this is of course the animation, so don't worry, it loops usually like 35 or 36 times. And then what we have here, for example, is the CTX or the chart area. You can see here how we have to go there from chart.chartArea.bottom, etc., etc. But we don't have to do it like that. What we could do is object destructuring, where we just say I want to get only the specific items. For example, instead of chart.ctx, we can just say here CTX, and another one would be the chart area, which is essential. I highly recommend you to watch the chart area video. Now at the very end I will show you as well that video. And let's grab all the locations, so top, bottom, left, right, and then we have here the width and height. So once we have all of this, save that, refresh. Nothing here really changes, but now instead of saying chart.ctx, we can now say CTX. For example, if I go to move it, I have to move it down, of course. For example, I want to grab here top. I just say top here instead of chart.chartArea top. There we are. You can see here we get 54, and this top even would mean is that the chart area where we start to draw the chart is at 54 pixels, meaning that everything above is not being included in the total height of the chart or the starting point of the chart. So this is very important. The chart area is the drawing area. However, video, understanding chart areas, basically this one here, watch that one. And later on I will give you the link as well. So what I want to do here now is font. I want to give a text. And let's grab here the text. What I'm going to do with the text will be very simple. I'm going to say here CTX, and then we can say CTX.font, and then we're going to give the font a specific item, let's say bolder, so we make it bold, plus 30 pixels, plus Arial as font family. So we have these three settings by default set in here. And basically, if you want to go to CTX, CTX is basically drawing in the canvas. Which canvas? This canvas here, with the ID of my chart, which is of course this specific element here. So next, what I want to do here is CTX.font fill style. Why fill style? Fill style is basically the full color of the font itself. And then what I'm going to say here for this one, I'm going to grab let's say we're going to grab this color here. I have this one here, the RGBA, and this is basically the red color of this border. So I'm going to grab that color here. Alright, and then next I will say CTX.font fill the font. So basically we're going to now draw the font. And this will be, make sure that this is parentheses. And we're going to say here, first of all, what is the text? So let's say I'm going to tell you that this would be the text. Imagine we'll say a sales, colon, and then $25 or something. So sales, $25. That would be the text. The next one would be the X and Y coordinates. Well, the X and Y coordinates in this case, we need to figure out what is the center here. Well, you might say, well, if we have this here, the width and height, which measures basically the chart area, will be very quickly done. Well, not exactly, but close. So I'm going to grab this one. Just say here, first of all, this is the X position and this is the Y position. And the X position is based on the width. So we're going to say this one and then divide by 2. And what is the width? Well, if you look here on the canvas, you go here, you can see here the width would be, in here. Not in the text here, because here this is not identical. It will give you an estimate or the shape, but the official thing is 400 by 400, alright? But the width really is 400 by 400. But the height is not 400. You might say it's 400 as well, because it's from top to bottom. No. Remember, we had here this part that needs to be excluded. So we have to figure out here the center here would be different. So we have to recalculate that. And I'm going to show you later on. So I'm going to say a height divide by 2. Save that. So then, alright, we get an error. So that means that we have something missing here. Let's do the console log. Fill font or font fill. Maybe it's one or the other. Let's see. Oh, sorry, it's not font. It's text. So that's the only one. Very close. There we are. So you can see here now, it is not really in the center. But one part, it is basically in the center, which is the width. And the reason why it's the width in the center is the only thing that it doesn't look like it's center. It's because it starts at the very center. And then it goes to the, basically it starts what we call text align left. At the left, or this point it starts, and then everything here goes to the right, and the whole left will be ignored. If you would do right, let's do this one, I'm going to show you. CTX.text align We say now here, right, it will do exactly the opposite. There we are. So now you see it jumps to the other side. However, I don't want that. I want to be in the center. Save that. There we are. So now we have this, but you can say like, hold on, it's not really in the center here. Alright. So the reason why is basically this. Let's go back here to chart, because I guess that will be the best one. And you can see here we have this top. I'm going to show you. I guess we can just show all the items. Console.log. And then for this, I want to say here, chart.chartArea. So you might say, why am I doing this if I already have that here? Well, basically here we did the object destruction individually for these. If you would just do only chartArea, you will see you get an error. Save that. Refresh. Oh, and then put it back. Sorry. You can see your chartArea is not defined. And the reason why is how we have to define it. You could do it like this. chartArea. I guess we can, once we did this, we have defined it individually. So you can see here, this is the full chartArea information. You can see here the height is 3, 4, 6, which is correct because the top was minus 54, because this has been excluded from the chartArea. So that's very important. So what we want to do is now we need to go down here. How do we get here down? Well, basically what we need to do is we divide the height by 2 and then plus 54. That's what we're doing. Basically plus top. Say plus top, save that. There we are. So now we are nicely in the center. You can see it is exactly in the center both ways. However, how can we now put in color? For example, you want to color these 3 characters, but you cannot color this here. Or you can see we have an issue here. We are not able to color them directly in here because there's one color only that we can assign to it. We cannot say halfway through different color, or we cannot say we're going to copy this and make a new text to put a new color in there. That would be very easy to do, but it's not the case. Although you can do it with coordinates, but it's very, very complicated. So I have another alternative way for you to consider that. So what I'm going to do here, first of all, I'm going to say ctx.restore. Let's save that. Okay, refresh. There we are. And then what I want to do here is the following. I'm going to go here, which basically we're going to use is here the gradient trick. And what the gradient does is we can indicate when we would like to change color, or we can change the color gradually. That's where gradient comes from, or the word derives from, gradually or instantly. What we're going to do is we're going to do an instant change of color the moment we surpass this section here. So this is very important. To do this, I need to break this down into text, and I need to know what is the width of basically the full text, and also how many pixels, or how many pixels is this part here. So then the gradient can change it the moment we hit that pixel amount. Alright, sounds all complicated, don't worry, let's start to do it. First of all, what I'm going to do here is, let's say constant, and let's say this constant will be text number 1, and this text number 1 is sales colon space, including the space. And then we could basically, what we could do here is just add up this, and then you could do here plus, or you can do a object, a template literal, sorry. You can do it like this. Say here, the $sign that, and there. So if I save this, alright, so you can see here, nothing really changed. Maybe you notice that there might be some space here because there's space here, so we can remove this space, and then it's back to normal. Alright. However, I don't want to do this one here. I want to have that also as an individual text number 2. So I'm going to say here, text 2, and this will be, well, we can say $25. Or what we could do is just get, of course, the official number here, which makes far more sense. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to grab that. How do we do that? Well, let me show you. We can do it in here. Let's do this chart and save that. We'll go to chart here, and then I'll just hide the others. We don't need the top here. Save. Refresh. Alright. Then we go in here. In the chart, we can go here into data. And then from the data, we can go into data sets. And then from data sets, we go here again into the index number. And then here, you can see here the specific value. Where are you? There, that one. That's basically the one we need. So, because we only have one, eventually we have only one item we want to show. So that's the only thing we need. That's why I'm going to grab it here. So how do we get here? Well, it's a long list. Let's look at it, hover over it. It's data, datasets, index 0, and then data. So what we could do, you might say, all right, can we just do it here? Here, and we just go to data, and then from data, we're going to data sets. And then what I realized is because this is an index, we should avoid probably going deeper here, but that's all right. If you do it like that, is that allowed? Oh, apparently it is not. Oh, of course. Why? No comma. Save that, refresh. There we are. So if I would go here now and then just say data sets, say refresh, it will get here all the values in here. And all I want to do here, of course, is data. So I want to say here index 0, data, and then here, make sure you have a dot. And do here again, index 0, because I want to grab only the first value of this array. Later on, I will remove everything else. So if I save this now and refresh, 25. It always shows 25. All right. So I figure out that this is now very clear. We can start removing all of this to avoid any confusion. Save that. Refresh. All right. So now we have this here. And you can see the moment I remove parts of the legend, it moves up and it goes again in the center nicely, which you can see here. So this will also automatically work the moment we move this here in the center. Or when we remove the legend, sorry. When we remove the legend, it will move as well in the center. Maybe here what we could do here, let's do 90 and then we'll do 10%. There we are. Alright. So now what I want to do is, okay, how do we get then these colors? Well, first of all, let's grab this. The text will be here. And then here this, you can just remove this. You say $sign here, because it's a variable, and text. Save that. Refresh. As you can see here now, this works nicely, and we could maybe say here, I'll just do a very simple concatenation. $sign like that. That's alright. There we are. Alright, I want to make the sales red and the numbers I want to make eventually black. So how are we going to do that? We have this here now, but what we need to know here is we need to know the full text width. So what I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to say a constant. I'm going to say a text width. And this text width will be based on two items. These two here, basically. So I'm going to grab this. Let's put that in there. And then, oh, sorry, I cannot do it like that. Sorry, I need to say ctx dot measure the text. And what are we going to measure? Well, this one here. And then we say dot width. The moment we do this, and if I do a console log on the text width, we get the width in pixels. Save that, refresh. And then there you are. We can see 146 pixels plus plus would be the full width of this. Is this correct? You can basically check this as well. If I just select this, we should be somewhere in the 150, or probably I have here some space additional, so I would say here 146 is quite acceptable. So now what I want to do then is, based on this, we can now start to measure the text here. So I'm going to just copy this, just put that in there, and I'll say text width 1 equals text 1. And then here probably we don't need to use the template literals because it's just one single variable. And then the next one, which is not really necessary but optional, is text number 2. Getting this from text 2. Save that, refresh. Alright, so now we have this width, and if we would grab this, you can see here how many pixels exactly that is. And you can see the pixels is probably 96 pixels. And then is there another console log here that's blocking it? Well, let's remove this. Save that, refresh. There we are, or 35 and then 96. So what is the 35? 83. You can see here. This is this. Alright. So let's see, am I correct? Refresh. There we are. This is the one. The first one here, probably because it's loading of the animation, it doesn't recognize it, but after that it will see 96 pixels. So this sales till space is 96 pixels. So now we can get the percentage. So let me show you first the gradient, and then you can start to adjust it. So the first thing I want to do here is, I want to say here constant, let's give it gradient, equals ctx dot create a linear gradient effect, basically. So it's a linear gradient, And then here, what we have to do is to figure out from where to where are we going to start drawing the item. Basically what I want to do, the gradient should be in this area here, or more specifically just the full width that we calculated. But to calculate that, we need to know the starting point and ending point here. So this is very important. So to do that, what we have to do here is to figure out, we have this one here, and this one might be a little bit tricky, so pay attention. Well, what I can do is, maybe I will just make a, before I even do this. So what I want to do here is start of text x. That's the coordinate I need to get. That's here. I want to know where this is. So how we do this? So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to draw quickly a shape. So we say CTX. It's to show you exactly what I'm talking about. CTX, and then we're going to say here, what is that? Fill style. I'm going to make a quick cube or rectangle, and let's say this is black. All right. Then let's say a CTX fill rec, and fill rec will be based on the coordinates. If I do 10 by 10, comma 10 by 10, we have a small square. Save this. Refresh. Alright, so you can see that's there. I want to get it here at the very front, or at least this part, which is the beginning of the cube, should be exactly matching with the text here. And if it goes beyond that, that's fine, because it doesn't matter. I need just the starting coordinate, or basically this one here. So how do we do this? Alright. What we know is we have here the measured text, but we also have the half of the chart area. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say, this is the starting coordinates. We're going to say here width divided by 2, and then we're going to say height divided by 2. Save that. Alright, so we have this one here. So then what I want to do is I want to push this down, and of course this is of course not 100% correct because we're still missing the top. Now we are at the bottom. Alright, now I want to move in here this corner. So how do we do this? How do we get basically this part here? Well, to get this, we must know, because remember, this full text will be in the center here. So if we divide this text by 2 and deduct the width divided by 2 with from the text by 2. So well, let me just get let me show you, because it will be very hard to explain because it's probably too many numbers. It's hard to imagine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say here the text width. I want to say here constant, I will say half text for now, equals text width divided by 2. Alright? But we know if we divide this by 2, we will get certain coordinates, and I can push this here. Because then what I want to do is half text minus text. Save that. There we are. So now we're in the corner. So you understand, of course, because if we put it in the center, then both sides should be equal of the text. So if we do here minus of the half, we should do here plus half would go here. Alright? So we can now start to check if this is all correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another rectangle. We do exactly the opposite. Instead of negative, it will be a plus. Save. There we are. So it starts here in this corner. Alright, this is important. So we have these coordinates here, because that's the whole point I want to show you. And then now, let's start to go back in the gradient and get these specific coordinates. Because in the gradient, what we will be doing is we're going to get basically the width and the height coordinates that we have here. So I guess we can basically copy this to get the official coordinates, but we need to have, this is the starting one, sorry, this one here, this, because it's a linear gradient, so we do it like that, and then we say a comma 0, and the reason why 0 is because this is going to top and bottom, which is the y coordinate. This is the x, this is the y coordinate, and then we say comma again, because what I want to do, I want to only change within this part, but the color should go from left to right, not from top to bottom, or else we will have font halfway through having a different color. So I don't want that. And I'm going to grab here the ending point on the horizontal level, which is this +2. And then finally on vertical level, we don't do any movements. So we say here 0. Alright, so that is the first part. And the next part is we need to add up the 3 colors, or basically the color instant adjustment. Instant adjustment. That is probably the right term. So what I'm going to do here now is the following. First of all, the starting point, and this is why here this will become very important. And then what I want to do is this. I can delete these items here, but this half text is crucial for us. Put it there. This console log can be removed. We don't need that. This one here, we also don't need. So instant color adjustment. That's what I want to do now. So what we're going to do here is say here gradient, which is basically constant here, dot, and then we're going to say here add color stop. And just to make it simple, we start at 0, which is 0%, which is a starting point. And if we're talking about percentage here, it is reference to the full width here, basically, and that full width here is based on this text here, the difference between starting and ending, and within that percentage calculated within there. Alright, so if you find it confusing, don't worry, just follow along. You will see eventually the color difference. So let's say here, I'll make this black. Alright, so let's make this black. And then the next color stop will be halfway. Or if I do only one now, it's 100%. If I make this red, you will see if I save this, refresh. Alright, so we have that. So nothing happens. And you might wonder why. The reason why is we have to copy this gradient color transition then here with that. And then before I even do that, I want to grab this color red, place it there, cut out the gradient, put the gradient in here because that's the color now, and refresh. So you can see here now we get this fancy effect. It looks absolutely phenomenal, but in this case I don't want this. I want sales, including the column, to be solid black, and everything else will be solid red. So this is one way to do it, and this is why we need the percentages. Because if I do here, for example, 0.5, then 50% of this shape will become this gradient effect, and the remaining will be gradually will be solid red. So you can see here's the transition. But of course, in our case, I don't want the transition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, put it in here, and then I'm going to say here, this black, I'll put it, say here. So you say black and black, we maintain black. But then after that, the moment we jump, crossing this point, it will become now solid red, and this will be 100%. Save, refresh. Now you can see we have an instant cut, but this cut, of course, doesn't calculate how many percentage this text is in comparison to the full text here. This is the reason why we had to calculate this text here. Width 1 will give us a certain amount of pixels, and the text width gives us the full amount of pixels. So we should be able now to count the difference. So we say your constant or percentage or diff percentage, maybe like that, percentage equals, and what I want to do here, of course, make the P capital lock. Alright, so we say here diff percentage is width 1 divided by full width or text width. If you do this, you will see your console log, you'll get the difference. Save that, refresh. Alright, so apparently 65.8 is the difference here. So this is about 65%, and the remaining would be whatever that is, that would be about 34%. So this diff percentage, we don't multiply by 100 because we need just only this value here, 0.65. Because here we also use just only that specific number. So what I'm going to do is diff percentage, put in here, and diff percentage, put in there. And if I save that now, refresh, there you are. So refresh again, you can see here very quickly it moves because it first recalculates because the animation, and then it recalculates correctly. And then is how we can put now the text in the center and have basically one text label with two different colors here. I'm going to remove the legend, and you will see then everything will work nicely and fall into place. So in here, plugins, now we can say here legend, and then we say here display false. If I save that, there we are. It goes back in the center, and maybe we don't want as well the tooltip, because you can see the transparent tooltip doesn't make any sense. So what I'm going to do here, after legend, I'll say tooltip, and say here enabled false. Save this again, refresh, no tooltip, and we have the sales, and this is basically it, how you can do it. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to learn more deeper about chartArea, please watch this specific video, understanding chartArea in Chartjs, because there's so much more what you can do, but if you don't know, it's such a pity. And this video here covers some other basics as well.